Can you hear me all right out there? How's everybody doing? My name is Todd Stiefel. I am an atheist and I am openly secular. I am also your last speaker of the evening. So do you guys have any energy left in you? Are you ready to get fired up and let Congress hear you? I envision a world of reason close at hand. A world where the twin beacons of science and compassion shine through the darkness of fear and hate. A world where people live lives of integrity, filled with peace, love, and freedom. We can make the world of reason a reality. I have dreamed of this since college, when I lost faith and found reason. My journey to activism began on 9/11, a crystalline moment in our history where the dangers of fundamentalism became clear. I remember working in Atlanta and having to interrupt a board meeting to reveal that the towers had fallen. I recall the terror in my mind and on their faces. Later, after reading The New Atheists, I decided that I needed to do more to make sure humanity's future is decided by reason. But today, politicians pander to the whims of oligarchic and religious power brokers. These power brokers have attacked secular people like you to gain power for themselves. They have stripped us of our rightful influence. In 13 countries, merely expressing religious doubt is punishable by death. How do you feel about that? You don't have to boo me, it's cool. In America, 45 people think you have to believe in God in order to be a moral person. They think you evil. Over the years, I have had several donations to charities rejected because they didn't want to associate with an open atheist. It hurt me every time, but it crushed me when the American Cancer Society refused to work with my Foundation Beyond Belief team to raise $500,000 for them. It hurt more because I have a lot of cancer victims and survivors in my family. Some of them here today. I cried, but we vowed to prove to the world that we would not be shunned. So instead, we raised for the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society, and we didn't raise $500,000, we raised $1 million. This is fun. You see, every citizen in a democracy has a voice, but your voice has been suppressed for millennia. Only one member of Congress is openly non-religious. Do you realize we would have 122 if we were represented by population? The religiously unaffiliated right now are 23% of the country, up from 8% just 30 years ago. But check this out. That growth rate over 30 years is pretty intense. If we were on the same track as Europe, and it appears we are, in 50 years, we're going to be the majority of this country. What are we going to do? We're going to be able to set policy, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to be able to decide how this works. Starting right now, we, the non-religious, need to seize our share of political power so that we can protect America and humanity. I see 3 high-level issues that we need to work on. These are issues that will win us allies among the religious because they are rooted in the basic human needs of love, life, and liberty. First, we must fix the broken American political process. Second, we must protect human well-being from threats to our civil liberties. And third, we have to minimize the risks to the survival of our very species. Let's start with our broken American political process. Some say we need to make America great again. I say America is still great. We enjoy freedom, security, and prosperity rare in the history of the world. But we have near complete political gridlock right over there, and legalized corruption in the form of buying influence with campaign contributions. The primary elections drive this. They drive out all the moderates, as people on both the right and the left must adhere to strict dogmatic ideological beliefs in order just to survive until the main elections. Right now, based on voting record, Democrats in Congress are the most liberal they have been in 100 years, and Republicans are the most conservative they have ever been. They have no common ground. Is it any wonder that they can't work together to fix our broken laws? For example, and this is mind-boggling, the federal corporate income tax rate for corporations is currently 35%. But over the last decade, General Electric has paid 0.4% in income taxes. 0.4%. And here's the crazy part. They didn't do anything wrong. They did what we all do. They lowered their taxes as much as legally possible. The problem is our government is completely dysfunctional. They are unable to fix obviously broken laws like these that allow for excessive loopholes. Instead, we can have a country like at our founding, when civil discourse helped lead to progress. We can create a primary system where mostly moderates from both the left and the right are in Congress so they can work together to improve our lives. Let's fix campaign financing. Let's get rid of the buying of political influence in this country. Let's eliminate barriers to third parties so that we can get a conversation going in Congress and to force coalition building. Let's outlaw gerrymandering. Let's have those districts drawn by independent commissions rather than incumbents bent on getting a hold on their power for eternity. And finally, the Constitution says the next president will appoint Supreme Court justices. Actually, it doesn't say the next president. It says the President of the United States, the one right now, will appoint Supreme Court justices. We need to pass a law ensuring Congress considers appointees in a timely manner. With changes like these, we can ensure our great republic survives. This is what a reason-based America will look like. But our republic won't deserve to survive unless we fix some of the dire threats to our civil liberties. The age-old arguments are coming out once again to try to repress others. 50 years ago, a major party nominee for president publicly said he would refuse to support federal public accommodations civil rights laws because, these might sound familiar, states' rights, religious freedom. Same issues. In those days, people had the deeply held religious belief that black people should not eat in the same restaurants as white people. The NAACP responded, and I quote, that they could not go along with a man who says we ought to let what's going on in Mississippi be decided by Mississippi. And I agree completely. Sadly, fast forward to 2016, Mississippi just passed a religious freedom bill that specifically allows discrimination based on religious belief. It allows hotels to deny service to you if you are gay. It allows employers to fire you, straight or gay, if you just believe it is okay for gay people to get married. Seriously. And it allows landlords to evict you if you have had premarital sex. Have any of you had premarital sex out there? You have no civil liberties in Mississippi. I say we still can't let Mississippi decide what happens in Mississippi. We need civil rights across this country. Additionally, other parts of our government regularly ignore the Constitution. States put up secular Ten Commandments displays. Military commanders force their subordinates to attend religious services. and state clerks deny marriage license to anybody that they disapprove of. We must make clear in the law that the free exercise of religion has no limit except the point where it deprives the rights of other people. We must preserve the rights to pray, to believe, and to free exercise for people acting as individuals, but not when they are representing the government, because then they are the government itself. For example, governors have the right to pray as individuals, but governors do not have the right to issue day of prayer proclamations telling us when, where, and what to pray. We must also eliminate all religious privileging in the law, especially legislation that lets religious people and churches violate laws that apply to the rest of us. No more church-only immunity to IRS audits. No more church-only exemptions to daycare safety laws. We need equal law for everyone. We must ban all tax dollars going to and strip tax exemptions from organizations that discriminate based on services or employment. There should be no more government dollars going to groups like the Creation Museum that will not hire Jews, Catholics, or any of you. Our money should not go to support discrimination against ourselves. Finally, we must ensure we have the right to our own bodies so that adults can make their own decisions on issues like euthanasia, marijuana, and birth control. Finally, we must add sexual orientation, gender identity, and atheism to the list of protected classes in this country. This is what reason-based civil rights look like. Therefore, I call for the Civil Rights Act of 2017. How does that sound? Eventually, we will obtain our civil rights, but there will still be dire threats to the very existence of our species. Our government pays very little attention to these issues. They are mostly just focused on the very next election. Meanwhile, man-made catastrophes are literally ticking time bombs. Our end may very well come from a nuclear-armed dictator who values the next life more than this one. Or our destruction may come from a tyrant using nationalistic furor to rile up violent us versus them mentalities. To help ensure our survival, we need to make the cost of tyranny expensive. A broad coalition of our allies needs to strongly consider implementing stiff economic sanctions on all countries that eliminate checks on their power and aggression. Things such as restrictions on free speech and press, restrictions on internet access, blasphemy laws, and perhaps most importantly, we need to free 50% of this planet and put sanctions on countries that eliminate the rights of women. Additionally, America needs to stop policing the world alone. We need to rebuild the United Nations or form a brand new coalition so the world together, united, stands up to the common enemies of genocide and holy war. On the topic of science, when politicians do talk about it, it's often to deny scientific consensus as if they know more than the experts. Have no doubt, there is significant existential risk in the denial of reality. Evolution is not just about the beauties of teaching human origins. It's about saving lives. Right now, bacteria are developing immunities to our last lines of antibiotic defenses. Already in this country, we have bacteria that are immune to everything we have in our arsenal. Over 1 million people die every single year from drug-resistant infections. We must teach that evolution is true so that our children can fight back based on facts. On climate change, 150 years ago, there were 150 glaciers in the aptly named Glacier National Park. When I went there last year, there were only 25 left. It was heartbreaking for me to see photos of grand glaciers where now all there are left are small piles of snow. Ladies and gentlemen, in 15 years, every single one of those glaciers will be gone. We need scientifically based environmental policies to reverse the warming trend. Finally, we need to advance science and technology to eliminate other threats such as world hunger and planet-killing asteroids. We must end the war on science, for science is our future. This is what a world based on reason will look like. People of reason, we can push America forward, but we must act. Of all of the religious groups, the non-religious are the least likely to be registered to vote. This must change. We must vote. We must register to vote. We must get out the vote this year. We cannot wait any longer. We must run for office. We must get involved with nonprofits like the groups behind me with both our time and money. We need to be openly secular and be living proof that the stereotypes against us are untrue. Let's practice radical kindness. Atheists and humanists should strive to be known as the most compassionate people on earth. These are things we can do right now to create the world of reason. To the rest of the universe, we are insignificant specks of dust on a pale blue dot. Over the long arc of time, we will all be forgotten as individuals. But together, we can change the course of history. We have the power to give life meaning. We make it significant. We can save America. We can save humanity. We can build a beautiful world filled with love, peace, and freedom. The fruit of our labor is within our reach. We just have to stretch for it, and we can have a world of reason. Thank you.